Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for this weekend edition of the Hebrew word study. Sorry, it's a day late, so it's actually Monday that I'm recording this. Had some things happen this weekend that prevented me from doing my recording, and also the study of this was a little bit deeper. I needed to take a little more time to dig in, and I hope you'll appreciate the extra information, showing you some additional sources that maybe you haven't been aware of. But where we're at today is we're going to be looking at just one word, and that is in Book of Matthew, chapter 1. On the screen, it'll show you verse 28 in your Bibles, which are split up maybe a little differently. It'll show up as verse 23. And of course, it's a verse we're all very familiar with. Behold, a virgin will conceive and bring forth a son, and you should call his name Emmanuel, is how we know it from the King James Version. So as we look at this Matthew Hebrew, we come across the word for virgin. And of course, what piques our interest here is this is a prophecy being reflected back. And so what we want to do is look ahead or look back and find out where this prophecy came from. And we started this last week or last time as we looked at that this comes from Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14. And so as we compare, we look at the Hebrew, and what we're going to look at here is Hine almah. And the word almah, which is translated as virgin here, is the word where our whole study is going to be focused upon today. Because as you maybe get a little more familiar with the Hebrew, you will undoubtedly run into someone who has been studying Hebrew longer than you have, and of course than I have also. And this word that's translated here as virgin is going to be a topic of discussion for many people, because if you run into a person who is Jewish or has a different viewpoint on Christianity, they will come back to this and they will point out that this word alma, um, in their opinion, does not mean virgin. And so there's a lot of topics on this. It can be very confusing. And what I want to do is bring you the evidence that I've been able to uncover, because my goal is not to bring confusion or to break down faith, but it is to increase faith and to bring a greater understanding that helps us to grow. And so what I've done here is bring together a number of sources. What you see here, of course, is a Matthew Hebrew version. It uses the word that exactly the same way as it is in um, the Isaiah. And so that's what we're going to look at today. So as we go to Isaiah 14, verse 7, or chapter 7, verse 14, you'll see that it's Hine almah. And of course, what I have here is Bible Hub, which is a Christian based study group, and they have translated it virgin. But if you open up the um, little flyout here, it takes us to a dictionary. It will say a young woman, has maiden, virgin, but to a Jewish person, to those that are Hebrew scholars, to those who are maybe looking to dissect and look at the actual meaning of what they feel the word is, they will many times bring up that, oh, this doesn't actually say virgin, it says young woman, and then they go off on their, um, you know, pedestal of why they are talking this way. And I've heard it. Obviously, this can be a very strong point of contention. And I want to give you just a few items to consider here that will help us come and make full circle here and get the right understanding. So even though the Hebrew here does say alma, there is another Hebrew word, betulah, which is a word that definitely means virgin without any controversy whatsoever. And so why is there alma here, and why is betulah used someplace else? that's where we're going to dig in just a little bit further here. So what we want to do is there's a number of sources for us here, and one that I want to point out is a it is called the Septuagint, and you may be familiar with it. This is a Greek version of the Old Testament that was written in Alexandria, Egypt, and it was brought forth by the Jewish people that lived there that were under the influence of the Greek culture. And so there was a group of 70 scholars that got together, which is sept means 70. And so this is the name of it, Septuagint, is based upon the 70 scholars that put this together. And of course, much folklore over how it got to become, who caused it to be. Some people think that this was the Old Testament that was used by the Greek-speaking New Testament believers. We do find that there are many copies that the New Testament church used in many areas that were Greek-speaking, so that lends some credence to that. So, but the document itself was created by Jewish scholars. And so it's interesting to look to see when we get to Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14, what do they put for the word that was almah, and how do they translate it? So obviously this is in Greek. I have a little bit of background in Greek, but what's nice here is with these study guides we have, we don't have to be a Greek scholar. We can use the tools that are given. So what I did was I broke out here what is called the interlinear, and you'll see as I'm scrolling up, it'll take this word by word and give you the Greek with a English letters underneath. It's called a transliteration. So it's dia, otos, didomi, kyrios, which is the word for Lord in Greek, and then autos. But what we're looking for here is this word here, which is called parthenos. And parthenos in Greek means virgin. There is no ambiguity about it whatsoever. It's a virgin, one who has never had a sexual relation with a man. So where this is interesting here is, remember, this was the Greek understanding of the Hebrew scriptures by Jewish and Greek scholars who were Jewish. They were not Christian. This was long before Christianity ever came about this on the scene. So the understanding that they give us here is that the original writers in Hebrew intended this to be in understanding that this was a woman, a young woman who had never had any relationship with a man. And again, we're dealing with cultures, we're dealing with time frames of it would be like today if you talked about a a baby or a kid, a child in kindergarten. It's assumed 100% that this child is not in a marital relationship, not sexually active. They are way too young. Um, and so that's the understanding that we get here from this time frame, that it was understood that this person, young woman being spoken about in Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14, had never been with a man. And so this is strong confirmation here that the Jewish thought process was along this line. So let's look a little bit further and see what some of the commentaries have to say. So we're like to go to Marcus Jastrow, who is a Jewish commentator, and of course we look up the word almah, which comes from Isaiah 7:14, and sometimes these are really hard to read. It takes some real practice here. So we see that he doesn't give a translation, doesn't give an understanding. He said it is a version of this word, which is alem, aleph, lamed, mem sofit, and it's in the second form. So what we have to do is look back there, and it gives us more of a root. So here's what's kind of interesting is this word alem comes from an understanding of something that is concealed, something that is tied up, something that is surrounded, meaning there's no opening. Doesn't take much imagination to see why they use this as a basis for virginity, something that is still sealed, something that is concealed, something that is tied up. It's not broken open. And again, this again gives us some very strong understanding to feel that we can use the word virgin here and feel that uh, the history and the um, linguistics of it backs it up. Here's another form of the word alem, means something that's in secret. Of course, that would again fit with virginity. So that's a very interesting one. We also want to compare with Wilhelm Gesenius. He is a Christian writer, but he also takes this word, almah, talks about how it is known in the um, Jewish and Hebrew scholars as a girl of marriageable age. But again, thinking back to the culture where this marriageable age would not have had a relationship with a man, and Gesenius puts a little note in here um, talking about this little feud, if you will, between biblical scholars and Jewish scholars, maybe Christian scholars, that talk about the difference between Isaiah 7:14 and Matthew 1:23, and does a great job of talking about almah versus uh, the word virgin. So there's another source I want to take you to. This is the um, Greek understanding, or the Greek translation of Matthew 20, verse 1 and 23. And as we scroll down, we're going to see that it uses the word parthenos for virgin in the Greek, which matches the Septuagint exactly. One more place we have to look that you may not be familiar with is the Syriac version. Um, it is generally well documented that Jesus and his disciples spoke Aramaic, which Aramaic is a sister language to Hebrew. Aramaic was the standard language of the day. Again, understanding in that culture, it had been conquered by many different nations, so being multilingual was very common for them. So even though they spoke Aramaic, Jesus taught in Aramaic. That was the language that was used every day. Hebrew was used in the synagogue. Latin was used in political realm. Greek was used in some forms of commerce. So the Aramaic, and many people think that the first versions of the scriptures were written in Aramaic. At least, they feel Matthew was written in Hebrew. The other ones could have been written in Aramaic. Regardless, Jesus, whatever he spoke, was in Aramaic, and however it was recorded later on, the Aramaic gives us an ability to go back and analyze. And so when we look at Matthew chapter 1, verse 23 in the Aramaic, again, these characters are very different. The top is what's called Estrangala script. It's a Syriac script. Underneath, you may be a little bit more familiar with the Hebrew script, but you will see here that this word betulah is the same as betulah here, and it is the word for virgin. So very much a confirmation here that the word of, and we're going to go into it just a little bit deeper here, this word of betulah is the word used in the Aramaic. It is the word that would have been spoken by Jesus as he taught, and the words that would have been spoken as Matthew was reciting in Aramaic. And so the word virgin is or the understanding of that Mary was a virgin is very well documented in the Septuagint, in the Greek New Testament, and also in the Peshitta, which is the Aramaic New New Testament, and then also in the Hebrew understanding of the basis of where the word almah comes from, meaning to be closed, restricted, not opened up. Again, all gives us very strong confirmation that these verses do support one another. And of course, later on, Mary herself will say, when the angel appears to her, how can this be? Because I have never known a man. Again, beautiful how all this comes together, and just great that we have all of these resources to look into, and we could even go further. There are more commentaries we can do, but I wanted to give you a little bit of flavor for it. Hopefully it wasn't too overwhelming, but just to show you how wonderful it is to be able to study this and have these resources at hand. So God bless you. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.